Hey everybody, I'm Todd Anderson.
I'm Brad Nelson.
And you're watching Versus Live by StarCityGames.com here on the SCG Tour channel. We got something pretty sweet lined up for today.
I don't even know what's going to happen.
Really?
I'm a firm...
we spent a lot of time planning this.
Well, I don't know how it's going to play out.
Sure.
But I will say that I'm an anti-mono blue aggro person.
Oh?
Yeah, every time that people on the team were like, should we even consider this deck? I was like, no, veto, it's done. I mean, it did 10-0 the tournament. That felt a little bad to see that, but there weren't any others out there.
Yeah, I mean, it seems kind of like an anomaly. I forget his last name, but Guillaume...
Matignon.
It's not Matignon.
Wafutapa.
Neither of
those.
I know.
So this person went 10-0 with this version of Mono Blue that I'm going to be playing today. If you want to take a look at the deck list, we have a handy dandy new extension over the top of the stream. If I guess on the left side, if you click, there's a little icon that should pull up my deck list. You can take a look at it. Also, if you hover over a card, if you don't know what it does, a little pop out will pop out. And also, if you want to import the deck or export the deck to Magic Online or Magic Arena, there's a little thing at the top. You can just copy to clipboard and do that.
Yeah, it's an awesome.
Cardboard.live is the name of the extension. If you are a streamer, make sure to pick it up. It's pretty sweet.
So today we're going to be taking Mono Blue Aggro, a deck that 10-0'd the Pro Tour this past weekend, through the gauntlet of the top 3 decks in the format. Now, it would have been better if we could get all 4. I think Mono Red deserves a spot in with those, but I do believe that to be the potentially it or Boros will be the most played deck. But we had to showcase the Boros deck. Why? Why do we have to showcase Boros Aggro today?
I don't know what you're asking me.
Who won the Pro Tour?
Andrew Ellenbogen.
And who has an article on Star City Games today? On
if
Star
you
City
want to
Premium.
know anything you want to know about the Boros Aggro deck from Andrew Ellenbogen, his article's up on StarCityGames.com right now. Make sure when we have these breaks here, you go check that out.
Yeah, I also wrote an article today, but if you don't read his first, then don't even bother with mine.
Also,
because I went 6-4.
Well,
yeah. No, I'm saying I'm not worthy. Like, you got to read that article first.
So we are going to be running the Mono Blue deck through the paces today. This is it. So I actually talked a lot about this deck last night on my stream, but for the most part, Mono Blue Aggro is effectively Blue-White Devotion Blue-White Heroic from like 4 years ago. In that it has a Protect the Queen game plan. It focuses on using things to protect your creatures like Dive Down, cheap counter spells. And, if you don't draw the right card, sometimes your deck doesn't feel like it does anything.
Well, if we're going to be comparing Mono Blue Aggro to other decks, I'm going to also compare it to Infect, which is 3 decks that couldn't win. And I say that because Nick Miller is in the booth today. How's it going, Nick?
Hard disagree with the Infect, but pretty well. We got some nice matches today. Already got some questions flowing in here.
Perfect.
Yeah, nice.
Throw one our way.
Let's go.
First thing they want to know, Basic 3 says, what is the next tournament and the format both of you will be playing?
Well, I know mine. I will be playing at the beginning of December, the SCG Open in Baltimore. Well, I'm tentatively going to that tournament. Sometimes I might just be like, I'm just going to stay at home. It's cold and
the forecast predicts some amount of weather.
Yeah.
No, thank you. No, thank you.
I'm pretty sure I'm going to be going to that most likely because I need to start preparing for Modern since the SCG Con featuring the Invitational is happening the week after that. And both the last 2 Invitationals, I have been effectively 1 win away from top 8, and I can blame Modern for both of them.
Well, you can always blame Modern because why not?
Well, I also go 7. I went 7-1 in both the other constructed in Standard and just got annihilated.
Yeah, I mean,
or 6-1-1.
You make an active choice to not play Modern on a regular basis, so we'll call it just desserts.
Well, I'm going to be prepared. I don't know what to play, so if anyone can suggest the best deck to learn. No, I've done that. That one didn't work out.
Sure.
Yeah, and I've defaulted to Tron and Jeskai for the last 2, and they were fine results.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I might go. I probably will go to Baltimore. I don't need to prepare for SCG Con Winter though, because I'm gonna be doing commentary with Cedric Phillips, Matthias Hunt, and Ryan Overturf.
That is gonna be fun.
Yeah.
To participate and not watch Todd do it.
Wow. 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 With friends like these, am I right? All right,
Yeah.
one more question, then we're going to get to some magic.
Okay, and will Brad be streaming more? Coming from Carrie D.
Oh, yeah, you streamed last night, too.
I did. I streamed with local friend Brian Brown doing.
Oh, right. Local friend.
It was fun.
Do I know him?
Just
Have
a
I met him
random
before?
guy.
I think you've been there for a meal or two. He was just that like loner at the end of the table. Didn't really say much.
Well, actually, I do remember.
Makes terrible puns.
There was a birthday party once I went to with you at a restaurant, but I didn't know who it was for. And then there's a guy on the end of the table, bald guy.
Yep.
Okay, that's the one.
That's the one.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. No, I will be streaming more often. Definitely. I have a lot of free time in the next couple of months. I'm skipping a lot of events just to, I will say, mental health.
Yeah, relax.
Just need some time at home.
Sometimes the hamster wheel wheels you.
Yes. Yeah. And I've accumulated such a large amount of points that right now with the system,
I'm so platinum rich.
yeah, I'm very platinum rich at the moment.
Brad, what would your Twitch handle be if those looking to find you?
Oh, my Twitch handle is FFFreakMTG, and that's also my Twitter.
Yep.
And my arena account is FFFreak.
Probably
I should have went
also-
FFFreakMTG, but whatever. I went with FFFreak.
I was gonna say it's also probably his high school email address.
Yeah.
His mother's maiden name.
His AOL, AOL Instant Messenger account.
All right.
Anyway,
and,
let's get to the magic. We're kicking things off, like you can see with Cardboard Live, and the screen says Golgari versus Mono Blue. That's the first match we're going to be playing, and I'm taking the Golgari Glen Ross Merriam side of the matchup.
Okay.
Just high roll.
Sure. 8.
Oh yeah, if you can't see that, oh,
Little
look at
box
that.
cars. on the hillside.
Carnage Tyrants for closers only.
Nice.
All right, well, this hand looks perfect for any matchup that doesn't have a Curious Obsession attacking me on turn 2. So hopefully that doesn't happen, but I am sneeping this one.
Well, we got 2 draws to find it.
All righty.
So.
All right, we're going to kick things off with Lanimore Elves. In this matchup, the Mox Emerald.
Your turn. Siren Storm Tamer is one of the 2 1-drops you can find that has evasion for Curious Obsession early.
Always be Carnage Tyranting.
Pass turn.
No, I'm not going to pass turn. So here, in certain matchups, you'd want to go with this and then explore, but because of how the mana is sequenced, I think we're just going to want to get the Jade Light Ranger out first.
Yeah, that's a little bit of a problem with Wild Growth Walker is that you just want to sequence in certain ways.
And I'm going to bin this Wild Growth Walker, I think. Yeah, and it doesn't seem correct to keep.
Okay. And you have a Swamp.
Yep, I have a Swamp.
As this is the pivotal turn, Todd, the chat wanted to know, how aggressively do you mulligan to Curious Obsession with this deck?
Not a lot. I don't know. I mean, this deck already kind of flounders sometimes. If you don't have a Curious Obsession, like you have to basically use every piece of the buffalo to get the job done, and sometimes it's just not enough. I personally have played 5 matches with this deck, and that's not a lot.
No.
But I felt like I could potentially win some games without drawing Curious Obsession. It is way easier when you have Curious
Is this
Obsession.
one of those games?
So I can main phase this Opt, but I also just like have a Chart of Course and like another creature I can just play. So I think I just attack for 1.
Yep.
I'm just gonna play Chart of Course. I don't think this matchup is particularly good for whatever it's worth. If I don't draw Curious Obsession, it's not very easy at all.
Yeah, that was my opinion too. We're gonna Ravenous Chupacabra that and attack for 3. I like getting Storm Tamers off the board so that if a Djinn comes down on turn 4, that it's not protected.
So here I have the option. I'm kind of afraid of another Chupacabra, so I think I'm just going to pass the turn.
Ooh.
Actually, I'm gonna upkeep. I'm gonna tap this.
It has been tapped.
Okay.
That actually does annoy the turn. I think we're just gonna do this and then set up for a good turn next turn. But we'll start with an attack.
Block here.
I'll pass priority. Okay. Well, you could always dive down
No, I know.
defensively.
I'm at 15.
All right, 15, and I'm going to play a Wild Growth Walker and play a Memorial to Folly and pass the turn.
Playing Ops. Top card is some amount of protection, but I think I just need a little more beef. Play Jin.
Well, that's not nice.
Your turn. Timothy is the other card that you can just win the game with by itself, just having a big flyer for 3 mana. Obviously, a lot of decks are going to try to kill it. You can do your best.
I'm going to start with a Merfolk Branchwalker, get a Woodland Cemetery, trigger him and Wildgrowth Walker up to 22 lives. And so here, I guess I should never tap that because I could threaten to use
Bring
it.
back, yeah.
So here we have some options. We can use this to bring back one of our creatures for the turn. Todd almost assuredly has a dive down, but we also have to get through these cards. But at the same time, I think we're winning the race. So that thing's going to be defensive for a while. But again, it's really difficult to get through the counter magic. We have to grind through all of that.
Mm-hmm.
So it comes down to how we want to play out next turn. Next turn, we might want to try to get this Wildgrowth Rocker above the Tempest, but we can run into counter spells at that time. This is a pretty tough turn. I guess we'll go easy mode and see if it's out there. Because if it's not there, then we just get to attack for a lot. All right, it is. All right, your turn. Oh yeah, this still stays in play, doesn't it?
Yes.
All right, your turn. It's a good magic card.
Yeah. Not bad. All right. Well, now we're in a bit of a jam. I'm gonna hit you for 6. Draw a card. Oh, that was a good draw. Go.
16.
We drew a protection spell, so that was nice.
All right. Well, that's actually not too shabby here. It's not the best thing, but so there's a good chance that a counter spell is coming. We want to figure out the best way to play around a counter. We can lead on this, or we can try to put this Wildgrowth Walker if it all works. But I'm going to start off with a find on my 2 creatures.
Yeah, that resolves.
All right. So then I'm going to play a Wildgrowth Walker. And so here, this is the more valuable card. So I think we lead on this one. And we'll play Merfolk Branchwalker. Now Todd still knows that there's a card in our hand.
Yeah, so you have J-Light and a rando?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to tap this in response. Lose the abilities.
Yep, that is pretty good. So now we'll keep that on top. And we'll go to 19. And this Merfolk Branchwalker gets counter. And here we'll just send on all of our creatures.
So we want to block, but we don't want to block with this. And we also don't want to turn on his Memorial to Folly to get back a Chupacabra, because that just kind of starts to overload our protection. So I'm going to block there, take 4, I'm at 11.
All right, I'll play a Force since I go. We're playing the Force now. Todd has perfect information, but
here, sleep would be the nuts. It would be very good, but
You did not.
well, I only hit fireballs when I knock. So we'll hit you for
8.
Am I just dead if I do this? 2, 4, 6, 9, 10, 11, 12. So if I don't hit a blocker, I'm dead. So maybe I have to do this, but you have this, and you just target this. We'll just hit you for that many.
All right, so that's
7.
7. So it puts me down to 12 to 11.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just gonna concede. My hand is just garbage.
Oh, let me do all my cool stuff. Okay, that's fine.
No, do
you
your
can
thing.
concede.
All you have to do is literally target this with a cast down, and I die. So.
There's nothing more fun and more satisfying than triggering 2 Wildgrowth Walkers. I don't know what I've become, but this is how I play Magic now.
That's fine.
Shadelight Rangers, triggers. Ooh, another cast down, but I'm going to get greedy and try to find a land. I did. A Memorial to Folly, the best land.
All right, so you gain 12 life up to 24.
Ooh, that's a high life total.
Yep.
All right. Cast down. Since you told me.
Counter it.
It's countered.
Okay.
Attack you.
I'm dead.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, you really need the Curious Possession early. Plus, Wild Growth Walker is actually pretty tough for this deck to race. In this scenario, Brad was able to basically just gain enough life so that I couldn't ever threaten to kill him. My cards didn't really line up well, and his raw card advantage actually just got me really good. And I just drew a dead Spell Pierce, which is really bad in the matchup.
I agree with that. I also think that before we go to break to do sideboarding, one of the big takeaways from these game ones and why I don't like mono blue aggro that much is because when you're on the play, the deck can look phenomenal. Mm-hmm. But Golgari's on the play with Mox Emerald. It's a card that you can't interact with, and it's just additional mana, and I get to do my thing quicker. And that's the thing about Llanowar Elves. It's a very powerful card. But in this format, you know, Tocatli and Chain Whirler and Deafening Clarion and Shock, all these other decks have access to these cards that can negate that, and sometimes that messes Golgari's entire game plan. Like if my game plan was that plus an Explorer and you shock me and I break on my Explorer, all of a sudden I have nothing to do. Yeah. And I have like Fine Finality, getting back an Elf and a Merfolk Branchwalker on 3 mana. You know, the deck looks really lackluster. I think and so what I'm saying is the deck's inability to interact in a substantial way with the board that's already developed is the downside. But we get sideboards.
Oh, for sure. And the deck changes pretty significantly after sideboard. A lot of the cards from Golgari, though, when I was just starting the format out, the mono blue deck was kind of up and coming, hadn't really broken through, but I played against it a few times on Magic Online as it was getting more popular when I was playing Golgari. And the thing that I figured out against them as a Golgari player is that as long as you have 4 duress, 4 cast down between like main deck and sideboard, it's very hard for them to win because a lot of times you just strip their 1 protection spell, use cast down on the thing with Curious Obsession, the game ends on the spot.
Yep.
But
no, I agree with that.
But yeah, I mean the deck's very fragile, but that's kind of the nature of these decks. They're protect the queen, and if you can't protect the queen, you lose.
Oh, for sure.
That is what Nassif talked about in, I believe it was his article, you know, following the Pro Tours. He didn't bring the blue deck to the Pro Tour where he had success with it at the GP because people kind of figured out how to attack it with duress, and that, you know, the people who know the matchups know how to attack the deck.
No, for sure. And I mean, I think a lot of it has to do too with any matchup where dive down is countering a relevant spell that costs more than 2 mana.
Oh yeah.
The matchup usually like pretty good. The same with Spell Pierce. Like I found that if I was ever playing a deck that got hit by Spell Pierce, the mono blue deck just felt disgustingly bad. Like I just could never beat it. Like I played Jeskai a ton. Even when I had like a bunch of lava coils and sealaways and stuff, I was just getting run over because I would have to either like use Clarion on like 1 creature with a Curious Obsession on it, and then they just like, all right, Tempest Djinn with protection backup, and then I'm just dead because I just don't have enough cheap things to interact. All your reactive stuff like Ionize are just like, they're really good if they have no board presence, and really bad if they have any amount of board presence.
Oh, for sure. All right. Well, we're going to take a quick 3-minute break while we get sideboards ready. Get any questions you've got to Mr. Nick Miller over here in the booth. Can we just call it the sideboard 2.0? I like the sideboard.
Quick shout out for Cardboard Live with the 1,000 bits too, right before the break.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. All right. Well, let's take that break.
All right.
Be right back. All right, we're here for sideboarding. Since I'm going to be on the play, I'll start. Basically, the 2-drop creatures are the worst part of this deck. Merfolk Trickster, being a wizard, is one of the reasons why it's there. Plus, against control decks, you just need...
But it's a wizard, Harry.
You need... You just need basically any warm body against a control deck to carry a Curious Obsession. The fact that it's flash means you can sometimes get it in when your opponent like plays a Clarion. You can just afford to let it resolve, kill a couple 1-drops, and then you play this Obsession attack, and now you have most of your mana up to protect. Warcart Marauder is just a 2-mana flyer that just kind of is a part of the strategy because it has flying, it has evasion, and there aren't a whole lot of good cards that you can play in the 1 and 2 drop slot that have flying other than what we're already playing. The Spell Pierce is not good in this matchup. Obviously, if we have it early and Brad plays a Duress or Golden Demise, yes, it can snipe something. It's so bad in game 1 though, and Brad, if he ever sees it, can just play around it very easily unless I have the very aggressive Curious Obsession draw. But I want to be playing a much more controlling game plan with cards like Essence Scatter. I want to keep his more important creatures off the battlefield, just keep them from having a major impact. Like if I snipe a Jade Light Ranger or something that could just mess up his whole draw because he was relying on land drops. And if I play like an early 1 or 2 drop, I don't have to play into, I don't have to play Curious Obsession if I draw it. I can just sit on Essence Scatter, wait for him to do his thing, and then attack when the shields are down. Negate, Syncopate. These are cards that can help protect us from, more removal and things like that. Second copy of Sleep. If the board kind of stalls, I think that I might need something like this, although there's a chance that Sleep is just not good in this matchup because the way that Brad transitions his deck after sideboard is to be way more interactive and less on the board. From the way you can see he's sideboarding, though, he's still going to have Wild Growth Walker. He's still going to have Jade Lights and Branch Walkers. And sometimes you just need something like this to buy you a turn or two. So
yeah, that's a curious one. Since, like, obviously sometimes, like, on the play, I might have Carnage Tyrants on the play, and that's, like, one of the best ways to interact with it and race. But you have to have a board presence, and I'm relying on interacting with your stuff first. So the way I'm sideboarding is actually exactly how Matt Nass told me to. I asked him with his list. Well,
that's fair. No, that's fair.
Matt Nass is a Golgari prince in training, right? Like Willie's the Golgari god, and we have great scholars like Reed Dukington III that have really talked about this deck a lot over the years. But Matt Nass, he's coming in. He's getting it within the ranks. So I'm just going to listen to him and try his sideboarding plan. On the play, I might deviate and put Carnage Tyrant back in my deck. But because you have Doom Whispers, I don't think you need the threats.
Yeah, that's fair. I like the uncounterable parts about Carnage Tyrant.
You mean the entire uncounterable part of Carnage Tyrant?
Right. The hexproof part is not that good in the matchup because I have Exclusion Mage, but I think I need to use those early to like contain Wild Growth Walkers and just kind of build a board presence.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, chat wants to know, Brad, what's the inclusion of the main deck cast downs mean for the Golgari deck? Is the meta faster now, or what's,
It's because Assassin's Trophy sucks.
Assassin's Trophy does not suck.
Assassin's Trophy is hot garbage.
Okay, it kind of is, but
I think we're going to reach a point with once the full set is here, or like the bigger standard is finally here, that we'll see Assassin's Trophy is like a must-have probably.
I don't believe that to be the case. Not while Veracic's Contempt and stuff is around, but I do think that it's a must include in your 75 because the best thing about Assassin's Trophy is after sideboard, when decks are trying to they have better removal and they have differing game plans, right? Like Boros Weenie decks are going to now have Experimental Frenzy or a Johnny and also potentially Tecatli, that it's a catch-all. And cheap catch-alls, even if they give a land, are important. But now in game one, it's not good to catch-all because guess what? I'm wanting to cast down a Drake. I'm not wanting to Assassin's Trophy a Drake.
Right.
And because Drake's is more popular, Red's more popular, white-based aggressive decks, all these decks, the cast downs are great. Also, there's going to be more Doom Whispers in the mirror that need an answer. There's a lot of good answers, but if you don't answer it, you're in trouble.
Yeah. I'll say this. When it comes to Assassin's Trophy, when you pair a card like Assassin's Trophy or Path to Exile or whatever, some card that puts you at a functional disadvantage in the confines of a game of Magic, cards like Duress become paramount to the strategy because they take away your opponent's options to spend that extra mana. That's why you can afford to have a little bit of card disadvantage from something like Assassin's Trophy after sideboard when you're using Duress to take away the Teferis, to take away the Experimental Frenzies. But in game one, Duress is so bad in some matchups that you can't afford to play it in your main deck. And I just think that it's important to note that there's a reason why people board two of them a lot. It's because they come in as a 1-2 punch with Duress.
I agree with that completely.
All right,
Todd, any thoughts on Night Veil Sprite in the blue deck? And someone wanted to know, can we still get Todd singing if we reach the sub goal?
Maybe on the sub goal thing. The problem is I don't think we have the rights to various songs that I would be good at singing. As far as Night Veil Sprite is concerned, I think
Take me to Star City Games.
Wow.
I'm just saying you have to change the songs.
No, I know. We got to Weird Owl him a little bit in order to not get sued.
Can we even say Weird Al's name? I don't know the rules.
Oh, wow. I don't know. I'm sorry, Weird Al. Oh, no, I did it again. I don't even know what. Oh yeah, Night Veil Sprite. I think it's probably better than Warkite Marauder. We're just playing the 10-0 list right now. That extra damage, might matter sometimes, but I think like churning through your deck and digging for specific things, especially at their sideboard.
I will not
better.
put a Flying Squire in my deck and construct it. The end.
Yeah.
That's just a
Oh, but
rule
it's
of
so
mine.
good. For me, the breaking point for cards like Night Veil Sprite is if they are functionally busted and limited, there's a very good chance that they are just constructed.
Sprite is
playable.
not functionally busted and limited.
The cards-
Murmuring Mystic is functionally
You know-
busted and limited.
Okay, you know how many people? There was a first pick at the Pro Tour. I think it was draft 1. Ben Stark first picked a Night Veil Sprite over a very good card because Night Veil Sprite goes like it's a very wanted pick in the Dimir decks and the
We thought he
Izzet
was
decks.
wrong though.
Great.
Yeah, because if
Just-
you're gonna,
I don't honestly. If you're trying to tell me that you think you're better at limited than Ben Stark, I just don't believe you.
I've 3-0'd more drafts at the Pro Tour than Ben Stark. That's all I'm saying.
Woo.
That's all I'm saying. Or maybe we're tied. But
Wow.
I also just want to clarify for the chat that's asking, like a lot of questions are about how come none of this card in this deck, and it's because we're playing the lists from,
We're playing
you
Matt
can-
Nass's list.
Yeah, you can basically answer those
versus
questions with
Guillaume
whose list we're playing.
So and
Yeah.
so's list.
Mox Emerald once more. Your turn.
All right, we're gonna opt.
It's just the Lawn War Elves, Brad. Like you're not playing that for free.
If it can't die, I'm calling it Mox Emerald. I couldn't have used the mana anyway. I could have played a 2-drop if it
Yep.
was Mox Emerald. Okay, there we go. I will not attack. There's no way.
I was gonna say. I was doing the pin trick.
Yeah.
I don't even have it in my deck. I cited it out, but I was still gonna try to get
But
it.
my hand is very good. To rest you.
Negate it.
All right, Wild Growth Walker, your turn.
Land. Fudge.
Oh no, do you not have a land?
No, I kept on my turn 1 opt. I could keep this. I probably should have bottomed this. If this is a land, yeah, I should have bottomed it because my hand doesn't really need the Curious Obsession. Go. I'm gonna lose because I didn't bottom a Curious Obsession, but it's just the best card in my deck.
Chat, can we get a vote? Should we just allow him to redo his opt
Rebottom?
this turn?
Yeah.
No, we have a vote. We have to vote.
No, I'm just doing it.
This is society. We have
Wow.
rules.
Todd's just doing it.
Bounce it.
Sorry, chat.
Just doing it. Just doing it. I'm sorry.
All right. Cut off one head. Your turn.
You have 3 cards in hand?
Yeah. They're all amazing.
Go.
Go.
Go. My deck is not good in this matchup. I'm trying to piece together a win.
All right, you have 5 cards?
I have 5
and I
cards.
have to bleed through them?
Yes. Effectively.
Yeah.
you gotta find a way.
All right, let's
Putting 0 pressure on you. Maybe a Warkite Marauder, just any flying creature is just necessary.
I am going to pass the turn.
Upkeep, draw.
Yeah, go. Do your thing.
Okay,
Oh no, you have more lands.
okay.
Stop trying more lands.
Go.
Contempt.
I'll dive down.
All right. Chupa, lupa. Your turn.
Okay.
I might have cast this
you
card too
are
much in the last
weird.
3 weeks.
Go. Now we need to draw a Curious Obsession, which I put one on the bottom.
Actually, no. I'll take that back.
Sure.
No, I won't. I'll attack.
Block.
Trade?
Yeah.
Chupacabra.
Counter it.
All right, your turn.
Cost 1 less. Wizard, etc.
It's a pirate wizard.
Back for 1, Harry.
All right, 19.
I will bounce this.
All right.
Go.
My turn?
Yep.
Get your arena animations in there.
Yeah.
I'll just sleep you, I guess. I don't know. Can't win.
All right, I'm at 15.
Yeah, I mean, if
All right, I'm at 13. This actually isn't just a bad keep. I think I'm just going to keep these.
sure.
Oh, gain
Yep,
3
here's
life,
16.
and I will Chupacabra the Storm Tamer.
Okay.
And your turn.
I will attack for 1 and play Chart of Course.
All right. 15.
6, 8, 10, Just so much damage coming at me next turn.
This deck is really good with Doom Whisperer.
Yeah, Doom Whisperer changes it.
Oh, it changes it so much. I feel so stupid for not having a main.
It's because it's not super good in the mirror. The only reason, like the guy who won the PTQ a while back. Yeah, it's been fine. I mean,
like the old versions that had like 3 Vivians, 3 Vraskas, yeah, it was way worse in those matchups.
Yes.
But now that you can't play that many cards, it's been pretty good. The amount of times it gets Vivianed is so small. All right, during my upkeep. Oh wait, I'll do it arena style because I don't know how to do things in my upkeep. I'll surveil.
Yeah. Nice. Okay.
All right, 13.
14.
No, I went to 15.
Oh, I hit you for
13.
1. Yeah.
Surveil.
What are you at?
I'm at 20 still.
All right, I'll just do that. I should have just done this during my upkeep after I draw it if I'm going to keep it anyway. All right, draw. What am I at? 13?
13, dude. I don't know.
All right, play this.
Sure.
Trigger on the stack, I'll go to 11. Then I'll reveal a land.
Okay, so
And-
you're at 14.
Yep.
This is pretty gross.
Attack. It is pretty gross, isn't it?
Yeah, the
11,
Walker
15.
plus
All right, I'm at 7.
all the
All right, your turn.
surveilling synergies and
Oh yeah, Walker in this deck is so good. Or Doom Whisperer is so good with Walker. You can sleep me again, right?
Yeah, I can.
go to
You are
sleep.
I could do that.
Brad, everyone wants to know if you can do all of the arena animations from now on for your cards.
I don't
and-
know all of them,
and
but I
if-
will.
well, they
I will
only
gladly. I will gladly promote Arena through my animations and excitement about the program.
Dude, the Doom Whisper animation is really cool.
And
It
if you
is.
can
I
record a
hate
video
how
on
much I
Arena
like
with
it.
no sound and you just doing all the sound effects.
Well, we already
he
kind of
already
did that
broke
last
the sound.
night.
He already forgot.
I don't.
He doesn't know how the sound works.
I don't computer well.
Technology's tough.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am just thinking about getting a new rig and having someone explain it all to me.
I mean, I could very easily spend 20 minutes of my day teaching you everything.
You should come over and do that, and then we'll stream together.
But
We can stream on your account. I don't care.
I don't. But I have to come over to your house. and
My house is great.
Whole thing.
It's a whole
It's
thing.
like a whole thing. It's like a whole
a
day.
whole-
It's like a whole day. You're asking me to sacrifice a day of my life
Like 5 hours.
to help you. I don't know if I want to do that.
That's true.
Yeah. So let's talk about this match in particular because from my experience, the mono blue aggro deck is going to be very well positioned in a format full of things like Jeskai control, Golgari decks that are way more like Planeswalker based and don't
Mhm.
have a lot of cheap removal and cheap interaction. I think Doom Whisperer significantly changes how I have to interact with you. Also, Wild Growth Walker changes how I have to interact with you. And there was a shifting point when Nassif took second at Grand Prix Lille. There was a shifting point in the format where people were going way more towards decks like the Boros Angels deck.
Yep.
They were going way more towards things like Jeskai Control. The Golgari decks were just ramping up for the mirror and didn't have a lot of spell removal because it was actively bad. And they didn't have threats that died to Chupacabra without gaining some major amount of value.
Mm-hmm.
And in that scenario, there was this perfect storm where this deck did well. And I honestly have no idea how this deck went 10-0 at the Pro Tour. Because from what I look like, it was a bunch of Golgari that were all prepared to beat aggressive decks with Wild Growth Walker. There was a bunch of aggressive decks which are just inherently good against this version of Mono Blue.
Actually,
because
it's not that true. A lot of the Golgari decks that went 8-0 were like 8 elf versions. That the
Druid of the Cow.
Yeah, there's
Sure,
a lot of 4
sure.
Carnage, 8 elf.
Wow.
That's why there were very few that played a ton of Doom Whisperer's main. There's a lot of Golgari Fine Brokers too. A lot of these cards that are just make your deck worse. And that's why I think and my article today goes over a lot of this about like how you're supposed to like metagame a Golgari deck while considering the mirror.
Mm-hmm.
And you just can't game one. And it's important, like you still should, like you can have a Carnage Giant, you can have some Vivian Raids, but you can't focus on just the mirror because all of the changes you make to your main deck to fight the mirror or Jeskai make every other matchup worse.
Well, namely, they make more aggressive strategies better
Yes.
against you because you're sacrificing like these inherently powerful effects to have things that are more resilient in a grindy matchup. And and when you play against a mono red deck or a white based Boros Weenie deck or whatever, when you start supplanting like Vraska Relic Seeker for Carnage Tyrant, you're taking away your ability to unlock things from Conclave Tribunal. You're taking away your ability to not have to like Vraska Relic Seeker ticking up is not only a clock against any deck, but you actually just don't deploy anything else, and it actively trades with more things. When you just have a Carnage Tyrant, your opponent can just say, okay, not going to attack this turn, going to deploy another threat. Against Vraska, you're keeping pace with them, while Carnage Tyrant is still only checking one thing, and it's just not where you want to be against an aggressive deck. With the mono red decks moving more towards Experimental Frenzy, cards like Vraska Relic Seeker, in my opinion, are just getting more and more important for the Golgari decks to have. And I know that you don't have any, but I mean, I honestly don't know why. I mean, I know Matt,
I'm listening to Matt now.
Right, but as far as Matt's decision not to play Vraska Relic Seeker, I don't understand why.
Yeah, we had 1 in our sideboard, and I think the right number is 1 in 75. You don't want more than that, though. It's so slow and clunky in a lot of matchups. Anyway, Nick, before we take a break and play Mono Blue Aggro against the Pro Tour winning Boros Aggressive, what's it called? Boros Aggro? Boros Tokens? We're doing Ace of Drakes next.
Yeah, we're saving the Boros Aggro for the third one. Make sure you read Andrew Ellenbogen's article on the Star City Games.
Yeah, during our break, go read that. But is there any more questions?
Brad, how do you feel about the 3 memorials, and what is the correct number of memorials in the Golgari deck?
This is kind of an easier question. I can't ever tell you if 1, 2, 3, or 4 is the correct actual number, but I figured out the dial. And the dial is the more rampy, the less explorer you are, the less memorials you want in your deck. But the more often you'll be able to find them off of exploring, which usually you can sequence with a tap land, the more you want to play it. So I think 3 is a good number with 10 explore creatures in your deck. Moving forward, if we play different versions that don't want a bunch of Wild Growth Walkers, want whatever else in the deck, I would think the number is closer to 1 or 2. But if you're exploring a lot, you're finding your land drops a little bit better and slower. Your deck slowly just gets there. But like having untapped black is very important for your 4-drops, especially if you're ramping into them. If you have Druid of the Cowl, you need to have double black right away. And so swamps are way more vital. But if you're slowly getting to your 4-drops and casting them on turn 4, 5, 6, whatever it is, then you can explore into things, and Memorial Folly doesn't hurt.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt as bad. Personally, I've been a pretty big fan of playing 2. I have shaved even all the way down to 1. I think a lot of it has to do with how fast your opponent's deck is on average. Like if you are playing, like in the last week or so, I think, I played against a lot more mono red. I played against a lot more Boros aggro, and I think in those matchups specifically, you can't really afford to have any of your lands enter the battlefield tap. You need to kind of chain off, and I think 1 Memorial to Folly is more of a concession to playing against like the mirror or control deck.
Yeah, I mean, I'll actually disagree with that. Sure. Memorial to Folly against these aggressive decks is good when you're a Wild Growth Explore strategy, because a lot of times you're going to blow up the board with a Wrath effect when you have to, and you might be down to just like 1 card in your hand because you had to keep up with them.
Yeah, that's
and then they top deck really well with cards like History, Benalish Marshal.
Just a low land count.
A low land count, and if they've already flipped Legion's Landing into Adanto, then you are really prioritized to do stuff. And so that's where Memorial to Folly can really help. I think the one matchup where I think Memorial to Folly is at its worst is mono red.
Sure.
Where that's the one matchup where even when you're on the draw sometimes and you're lowering your curve, I'll trim to 23 lands and cut a Memorial to Folly.
Sure.
Brad, what do you think about the Golgari deck playing the sweepers in the main deck, stuff like Rituals and stuff like that?
I don't think we're at that point yet, especially since sweepers is not good against mono red usually. Like, the problem is the argument why it's not good against mono red is, yes, there will be games where the creatures have come into play and haven't dealt that much damage and put you at a risky low life total. But for the most part, how that matchup works is they'll play a creature and then you'll play like a Wild Growth Walker, and then they'll spend their turn killing, and then you'll do something. And if they don't play a 4-drop, which you can't ritual, you'll still like get 2 creatures, but they've dealt a bunch of damage, where Ravenous Chupacabra might have already just done the same damage.
Yeah.
Like they don't go wide. And the other decks, the problem with Ritual Suit is I liked it. I played it at the Pro Tour on my sideboard, but I didn't have 4 Wild Growth Walkers, and I just think it's correct to have 4.
Sure.
And I'm starting to realize that Ritual Suit might not be that good there, because sometimes you're relying on that card, but they've flipped their Legion's Landing. They have an Adanto's Vanguard in play, and they also have a Dauntless Bodyguard, and you're only getting half their board.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I think like if you're playing Wild Growth Walker, something like Ritual of Soot is just not necessary. Like
No.
if you Golden Demise doesn't kill your Wild Growth Walker, while it deals with things like Adonto's Vanguard and just more cleanly answers the things you need it to, and it costs less mana. And I think that all those factors, even though Ritual of Soot can clean up larger creatures, like Banash Marshall, it's not quite as desirable because Wild Growth Walker is so good in the matchup, and you almost always want to play it against them early and try to force them into running into like a sweeper effect.
Yeah.
And then kind of wrapping a couple questions into one, with the rise of the Boros and the red and the white decks, the aggro decks, what do you guys think about the Angels lists? The Boros and the Selesnya one, and then the tokens deck from Kakume from the Pro Tour?
I'm not familiar with Kakume's tokens list. I can go to during the break. I'll take a look at it and we can answer that again.
Yeah.
No, there was a joke running around when all of us were doing pretty medium with Golgari that we should have just had fun 2 weeks of drafting, just ran back red, white, Angels, Boros, Angels.
Yeah.
And there's some truth to that. There's some not. I think the deck there might be a Jeskai Midrange Angels build that's good. We did work on Selesnya Angels. But the biggest issue that I have with Boros Angels is you fall victim to your draw, your curve, just the way your cards line up against theirs. And while it's a very powerful deck, going into that Grand Prix, I knew I was playing a very, what's the right word? I want to say rudimentary, but that might not be the right word. Just a very basic, like not non-sophisticated deck. All right. I played Magic for 10 years. I know when my deck is just things that are individually powerful without much cohesiveness, and I'm just hoping that the things don't line up. But right now, the removal is lining up. We're realizing what removal is needed. There's mono red decks that are playing for Lava Coil's main deck, right? And at the weekend that we played Boros Angels and did well with it, the Boros decks, or not Boros, the Is It Drake's decks, they only played like 2 Lava Coil's main. Sometimes they didn't even have 4 in their entire list, and they all played 4 Shocks. Now we're starting to see more Lava Coils in the 75. We're seeing more Beacon Bolts. We're just seeing a better game plan against Boros Angels.
Yeah, and it's possible that something like Rekindling Phoenix is just not even worth playing anymore because everyone has moved back to 4 copies of Lava Coil, and you should just hammer super hard on things like Aurelia that have 5 toughness.
Oh, yeah. Smartest thing I did at that Grand Prix is my sideboard plan going into the tournament was to keep all 4 Rekindling Phoenix against Izzet Drakes. I played the matchup 4 times. After the first time, I started trimming on Rekindling Phoenix in the matchup, and by the last match, I took all 4 out. Play and draw.
Just Lava Coil is that good? Well, I guess
the exchange rate is so bad.
Right. Well, and also, it's not like they have great targets for Lava Coil early in the game. Your threats you're going to be playing against them after game 1 are Adonto, Vanguard, History, Benalia. The only other real target is Resplendent Angel and on 3, and if they just happen to draw a second Lava Coil, they're just going to use it on that.
Also, the biggest innovative thing I did for that Grand Prix was we played 4 Direfleet Daredevils in sideboard through the logic of they can find threats faster than you can find removal, so you have to have a high density of it, and you don't want to flood on it and let them just draw and concoct any game plan they have. So Daredevil, when you're flooded on removal, can act as a charter course. And so I really like that. That really swung the matchup.
Oh, I agree.
But also, I didn't even account for the same logic and apply it to their removal. Every turn 4, they see so many cards, they're going to have a Lava Coil. Yeah. And they're just going to pay half of their mana to deal with all of your mana from last turn. And that's an important turn, especially if they played like a Crackling Drake. And you're like, well, I hope I get to block with this Rekindling Flame, because that never happens. No. And so,
I mean, the odds of them finding the Lava Coil is also super high because their deck is literally all cantrips.
That's what I'm saying.
All cantrips, threats, and Lava Coil.
That deck, the way you punish that deck is not by having your cards line up against theirs in the mid game. It's the early game. You're wanting to get a foundation early, and Rekindling Phoenix doesn't do that against that matchup.
Yeah, I mean, I think Aurelia is like a pretty big deal against them. They just have if they don't find Beacon Bolt, which they usually only have 2 of sometimes. I think your brother Corey played 3 total between main and sideboard, but for most of the list from the Pro Tour only played 2, and I think that's going to be fairly normal moving forward. Something like Aurelia can just put a huge roadblock or apply just a ton of pressure early.
It is
turning these 2/2 History Benalia tokens into real threats against their 4 Toughness Drake blockers.
Yep. Well, I hope that's a good enough answer about Boros Angels. We kind of went off on it.
All right. Well, we're going to take a short break here while we prepare for round 2 of the Mono Blue Gauntlet. Taking this deck through the ringer to see how good it actually is. Against Golgari.
We we can't be too hard on the deck. It did lose to the best deck in the format. Things
true.
happen.
Golgari.
Golgari. It's tough to just put it under that pressure right away. We shouldn't have done it. We should have eased it into the best deck.
No, we should just pit it against Jeskai 3 times in a row. And then, oh, this is the best deck.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to take a short break. We'll be right back.